Hello and welcome. This is Chris Pratt, the National Program Director for the English Fellowship Program for this year, 2015. I want to welcome everyone here today to talk a little bit about the joint venture between the Foundation Heart for Change and Volunteers Colombia. Heart for Change and Volunteers Colombia will be working with the Ministry of Education in 2016 to bring 600 English teaching fellows across 50 different cities to help teach in the public school system here in Colombia. We have a little motto, two hearts beating as one for Colombia. So let's get started. A quick overview of Volunteers Colombia, who we are. In 2009, Volunteers Colombia pioneered to bring volunteers to the country, to Colombia, with a pilot program in Isla Barú with 5 volunteers. Isla Barú is located on the Caribbean coast. In 2010, Volunteers Colombia started partnerships with Pies Descalzos, which is a nonprofit by Shakira, Fonaide, and Gobernación de Quindío. In 2011, 35 volunteers with a new alliance were brought for the mayor of Monteria. Again, that's kind of near the Caribbean coast, not right on the water. 2013, there was support by President Santos to help expand Volunteers Colombia in the English teaching programs. In 2013, Volunteers Colombia starts a program in public schools in Barranquilla in partnership with their mayor. That was the first time that we had those teachers in the schools. 2013, there was a pilot with the Ministry of Education volunteer program in Escuelas Normales in the coffee growing region. Escuelas Normales are schools that have been created to specifically teach students to become teachers in the public schools in the future. 2014, there was an alliance with SENA, a vocational public university, where more than 200 volunteers came to Colombia and began a partnership with the mayor of Cartagena. 2015, more than 300 volunteers came to Colombia in order to continue these partnerships. And now, 2016, a new partnership with the Ministry of Education and Heart for Change. They bring 600 volunteers across 24 cities. And it looks like it'll probably be a little bit more than 24 cities. Volunteers Colombia's mission and vision. The mission of Volunteers Colombia is to contribute to the development of global citizens through English teaching and cultural exchange between our volunteers and students from vulnerable communities in order to positively impact a sustainable change in Colombia. The vision: we will be a strong volunteer organization with a presence in Colombian vulnerable communities, recognized for its growing, measurable, and demonstrable impact. Volunteers Colombia's values, we can say I teach. So the I is impact. Our purpose and dedication to service is taken into consideration in all of our actions. Transparency. We are open and honest in communication, decision making, and all of the organization's processes. Empathy. We recognize, accept, and value culture and personal diversity. Adaptability. We adapt to different regional contexts without losing the essence and consistency of our program. Commitment to excel. We give the best of ourselves and never stop learning and progressing. Humility. We recognize that we are all equal and constantly in a permanent process for development. Volunteers Colombia, your role in helping us achieve this. Our volunteers may be recent college graduates from all types of majors, professional or retired workers, or anyone that is committed to international social service and education. Volunteers are not required to have teaching experience. However, the program incorporates a period of training, support, tools, and professional development so that our volunteers become teachers with high impact. In 2014, Heart for Change and Volunteers Colombia decided to work together to help create this profile, to help create the profile of what an English teacher volunteer or English teaching fellow would look like. We looked at over the last 3 to 5 years that we've been working to bring these volunteers to teach English here in Colombia. We worked together and looked at what was really important. And it's great when fellows have previous teaching experience, but we feel that one of the most important things is that they're adaptable, that they're professionals, that they're excited, and that they're excited about that cultural difference, to come and learn about a new culture here in Colombia. So the rest we kind of go through a 2-week training, which everyone will be coming, I think, January 10th. So very excited to have them. Next up is Heart for Change. And again, I currently am working directly for Heart for Change. Next year, Volunteers Colombia and Heart for Change will be working together. So I'll give a background on Heart for Change now. In 2010, the founder, Andrea Calderon, with a group of her friends who shared the same passion for volunteering, and they created Heart for Change. The first volunteers arrived later that year. 2011, Heart for Change became a nonprofit foundation. 2012, there was the first partnership ever with CESA, which is a business university in Bogota, an agreement with Partners of the Americas, a nonprofit out of Washington, D.C. that was first created under the John F. Kennedy administration, and with SENA for the Teach English Colombia program. 2013, 56 volunteers for the Teach English Colombia program arrived to work in Bogota, Ibagué, Medellín, Sabaneta, Cali, Buga, Barranquilla, Cartagena, Manizales, and Armenia. 2014, the signing of the agreement with the Ministry of Education and recruitment of 124 fellows for the English Teaching Fellowship Program. 2015, 227 more English teachers came to join the English Teaching Fellowship Program. Another 16 English teachers come to the English at Park volunteer program in Antioquia, which was an agreement with the Gobernación de Antioquia in Colombia. Heart for Change's mission is to support organizations and social projects in Colombia through programs of volunteer work. Heart for Change, what we do. Since its launch in January 2015, the English Teaching Fellowship Program has brought over 320 foreign professionals to Colombia to help provide quality English education to more than 30,000 public school students and 300 Colombian English teachers throughout the country. Taking place in the vulnerable communities of select cities in Colombia, the ETF program sponsors fellows to work alongside Colombian teachers in order to strengthen the English abilities of teachers and students of the public sector. This compelling formula has provided the opportunity for all parties to unlock their personal potential through education, grow in empathy, and understanding through cultural exchange, and has provided the opportunity for Colombian participants to better compete in the global economy through developing the ability to communicate effectively in the English language. This idea basically is to help strengthen the English skills for Colombians, not only the students in these public schools and poor sectors who, with that English education, could receive much higher paying jobs in tourism, working for hotels, working for call centers, but also for the Colombian English teachers. Once the fellows arrive and come to the school, those fellows will be working hand in hand, side by side with Colombian public school teachers. They're, instead of a group of Colombian teachers who might have a meeting for the English group in Spanish, now with this fellow, they will have to have their meetings in English. Many of those daily interactions will now have to be in English, and classes will 100% have to be taught in English with the fellow teachers. They will constantly have the opportunity to practice pronunciation and communicative skills with the fellows. This is not just an investment in the students. This year we reached about 100,000 students across the country. That should be doubling next year in 2016. So not just the students, but also making a change in the Colombian teachers' role. Many of them have high levels of English and very strong communicative skills of English, but this has really shown improvements in their motivation, improvements in their confidence, and just practicing on a daily basis. And we've seen that the majority of the Colombian teachers has moved up one or two levels in the basically in their English level over this year. So we hope to have that continue, and we see that as an investment in the future for all of the Colombians, because this program might last for another 4 years, but those teachers, their improvement over the time in this program will last for the rest of their lives and will impact students upon students upon students. Heart for Change, what we do. Here's a picture of the president with the new 200 fellows that got here, and the minister, Gina Perotti, in the Casa de Nariño, which is basically like the White House in Colombia. And then we also have a picture of the whole team and our first fellows in Villa de Leyva, a Spanish colonial town a couple hours outside of Bogota, where we had training with UNICA and Heart for Change this year. Heart for Change Volunteers Colombia, your role in helping us achieve this. Heart for Change's fellows need to be hardworking, socially oriented, adaptable, flexible, motivated, and able to work independently. We're excited to work together in order to create a bilingual Colombia. So again, this is a little bit of the traits that were identified by Volunteers Colombian Heart for Change back in 2014, where we kind of sat down and brainstormed together and thought about what the best traits and what the best profile for a volunteer were to help find the perfect people for our program. Our fellows are native English speakers or non-native English speakers with a certified C1 level, professional. Professional meaning that they basically have a 4-year college education, experience of traveling or having lived in another country, especially Latin America. So it's always good to have someone, and we welcome people if it's their first trip, but it always is preferred to have someone who's kind of been there, done that, went ahead and maybe lived 1 month in another country before committing to an entire year or an entire 6 months here in Colombia. Because we know, and I've traveled probably over 40 countries, and I know that sometimes, you get a little homesick, there's cultural differences, you miss friends and family. But we do have a support network, and we will make sure that there's always someone to listen and help you along the way, because every single one of the regional coordinators, every single one of the people in the organization have been through that. They've felt those same things. But having that experience is great. TOEFL certification preferred. Teaching experience is also preferred, and a basic level of Spanish. Objectives: to attract qualified, motivated volunteers who realize their reputation isn't everything. We want professionals whose hearts ache to connect and empathize with people from different places and cultures. We want our qualified and committed volunteers throughout Colombia, where we can make real impact. Heart for Change is committed to provide continuing support to facilitate positive, successful experiences for each fellow. Every fellow will form part of the Colombian community where we live and work, thereby truly getting to know the people. Heart for Change and Volunteers Colombia. It's a little timeline about the joint venture between the two. 2016, Heart for Change and Volunteers Colombia will be starting to joint venture, working together in the implementation and management of its teaching programs in order to help Colombia meet its ambitious goal to become the most educated nation in the region by 2025. Less than 1% of Colombian public school students graduate with at least a pre-intermediate B1 level of English. Very low. The Colombian National Ministry of Education has chosen us to be their partners to develop and implement various English teaching programs in order to support teachers and public schools across the country. By making English language learning a priority and achieving a level of English that allows for efficient communication, Colombians will better be able to access and contribute to a global economy, as well as be better able to obtain employment and professional development opportunities in the future. Heart for Change, Volunteers Colombia. 2 hearts beating as one for Colombia. Thank you for listening to the webinar, and thank you for joining our team. We're so excited to have everyone with us.